Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will be meeting U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken early next week to tackle cooperation and security matters. Marcos vowed to defend the Philippines' maritime claims after Chinese President Xi Jinping called on the armed forces to coordinate preparations for military conflicts at sea. Their meeting comes on the heels of heightened tensions between the Philippines and China over territorial disputes in the South China Sea. A 2016 ruling by the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague found that China's sweeping claims had no legal basis, but Beijing has rejected the ruling, claiming indisputable sovereignty over most of the South China Sea. Well, DD India correspondent Laura Westbrook joins us from Hong Kong with more details. Laura, tell us, what has Marcos said ahead of the meeting between him and Secretary Blinken?
Yes, as you mentioned, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be heading to the Philippines. He'll be going to Manila and he will be meeting with the Philippine president. The US is, of course, a key ally of the Philippines, and his visit comes hot on the heels of another visit by a US official, the US Commerce Secretary, who is also in the Philippines this week. Now, the Philippines says the meetings will focus on areas of cooperation and security, and this all comes against that backdrop of rising tensions in the South China Sea between the Philippines and China, both claiming maritime claims there. Now, the Philippine president has vowed to defend the Philippines' maritime claims. He says, "We will continue to do what we can to defend our maritime territory in the face of perhaps a more active attempt by the Chinese to annex some of our territory." Now, of course, the South China Sea is one of the world's busiest shipping claims. Trillions of dollars of trade pass through it every year. As you mentioned, China claims almost the entire South China Sea. This is despite legal precedents and also competing claims from not just the Philippines, but Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei.
Laura, the meeting will come at a time of heightened tensions between the Philippines and China over the South China Sea. Now, what can we expect?
Yeah, tensions have been rising between the two countries recently. Just last week, the Philippines accused Chinese vessels of a collision with one of its resupply missions. It says it accused China of dangerous maneuvers, and it said that Chinese ships were involved in two separate collisions, one of which involved water cannon against one of its ships. Now, China says that its coast guards had taken measures against a Philippine vessel that intruded into its waters. And Washington had even waded in, and it issued a statement on this incident. It said that incidents represented China's reckless disregard for the safety of Filipinos and for international law. So that just gives you a sense of the backdrop of what's going on in the region ahead of the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Manila, one of its key allies.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining in.